Shocking news that changes everything between Ferrero and Alcaraz. Stay until the end to learn all the details. Juan Carlos Ferrero's name continues to be one of the most frequently mentioned in Carlos Alcaraz's circle despite the title at the Australian Open. After the great triumph this past Sunday, many were expecting congratulations from his former coach, which never arrived directly, although they did come from the Ferrero Academy's social media accounts. Even so, many fans were still waiting to see if the long-awaited reaction would finally come, but after Ferrero's latest moves they are now convinced that it will not. Ferrero, now the coach of golfer Ángel Ayora, has delivered a new twist to his relationship with Carlitos by unfollowing him on social media. A surprising step after repeatedly stating that their personal relationship had not been affected despite the professional split. It is true that Ferrero explained that it was not easy for him to deal with the situation and that he preferred not to watch his former protege at the Australian Open, assuring that the wound was still very fresh, showing that the Valencian was the one most affected by what happened. Their separation on social media could be another sign of the difficult moment Ferrero is still going through, as he seeks to completely close a chapter that is now in the past. For the moment, Alcaraz still follows Ferrero, in a move that does not seem likely to be reciprocated. The Spaniard reflects on the reasons that led to the separation, speaks about whether he has thought of his former coach, and lavishes praise on Samuel Lopez. Behind every great athlete, there is a group of people who allow their potential to become reality and help them explore their limits. Carlos Alcaraz feels a deep attachment to his family and his working team. After his split with Juan Carlos Ferrero, many expected some kind of mention of the former coach after being crowned champion of the 2026 Australian Open, but the player from Murcia has been cautious. News of their breakup fell like a bombshell just weeks before the start of the 2026 Australian Open, and there is still a strange feeling among fans about what may have happened between the two. Juan Carlos Ferrero was also a protagonist of the tournament due to his interviews with various media outlets, but that did not distract Carlos Alcaraz at all. He maintains eternal loyalty to his own people and seems to have completely distanced himself from the man who was his great mentor and former coach. There are no negative words about him, and in an interview with El Mundo, the first mention of Juan Carlos after his success in Melbourne finally arrived. The natural wear and tear of so many years working together has been put forward as the main argument to explain the breakup, and the Mercian returned to that idea. Life is about taking paths, and after a season that runs from January to November, you have to make decisions. We saw that we needed a change, argued Alcaraz, who has managed to isolate himself from all the media noise generated around this news, something he spoke about openly. Alcaraz highlights Samuel Lopez and speaks about the separation from Ferrero. The natural wear and tear of so many years working together has been put forward as the main argument to explain the breakup, and the Mercian returned to that idea. Life is about taking paths, and after a season that runs from January to November, you have to make decisions. We saw that we needed a change, argued Alcaraz, who has managed to isolate himself from all the media noise generated around this news, something he spoke about openly. First came his now famous quote in which he said that after winning the 2026 Australian Open, he remembered all those who thought he would not achieve it. Time has helped me understand the power of words and how they can influence a person's mood, said Carlos, who admits having experienced certain doubts after reading negative comments following the decision to end his collaboration with Ferrero. He also took the opportunity to make a plea about how committed he is to his family and his close circle. My people are the ones who really know me, and if they have to give me a slap to bring me back down to earth, they will, said the Mercian. There was also time for a special mention of Samuel Lopez, a true student of tennis with whom Carlos Alcaraz feels a very special connection. His figure has grown in stature as the 2026 Australian Open progressed, and everyone could see his spot-on tactical advice during matches and the unique chemistry he showed with the Mercian tennis player. There seems to be no doubt in recognizing the man from Alicante as the ideal coach to guide Carlos's path this season, especially after the Mercian's words about him. He helps me a lot professionally, improving my strokes and pointing out tactical aspects, but he also knows how to calm me down when something worries me. That's very important to me so that I can give my best on court, said Carlos Alcaraz, who is already looking toward upcoming challenges, without renouncing his past, but without looking back on it with nostalgia either. Juan Carlos Ferrero and his legacy will be eternal, but it is still too soon for both of them to talk about what happened naturally and without pain. Unexpected message from Alcaraz's mother after his victory. It is well known that family is key to Carlos Alcaraz in his day-to-day life, both on and off the court. The success of the Mercian tennis player cannot be understood without fully knowing his entire universe, from the daily closeness of his brother and father to the constant suffering, always from afar in El Palmar, of his mother, Virginia. This fact was clearly reflected in the image of the newly crowned Australian Open champion upon his arrival in his hometown, El Palmar, where he still lives with his parents and siblings. As a result, the words of his mother Virginia in the Netflix documentary A Mi Manera have once again gained importance, when she expressed one of her main concerns regarding the moment her son is going through. "People expect him to be like Rafa, a legend," she stated, referring to the constant comparisons with Rafael Nadal that have accompanied Alcaraz since his first major victories. Although she acknowledges that these comparisons are an honor, the tennis player's mother warns of the risk posed by such high expectations for a player who is still taking his first steps among the elite. But he must not let people get into that personal space of his, Virginia herself pointed out, underlining the importance of protecting the athlete's personal balance. In this sense, she was blunt in expressing her greatest fear, that they don't turn him into a broken toy. The words of Alcaraz's mother highlight the less visible side of success. While the tennis player has become one of the biggest names in sport after becoming the youngest player to win the main tournaments on the circuit, his family tries to ensure that he keeps his feet on the ground and preserves the simplicity that has characterized him since his beginnings. Virginia Garcia, who keeps a low profile, rarely gives interviews, but in the documentary she offers an intimate view of how the family is living through this moment. A resident of El Palmar, the Murcian town where Alcaraz grew up with his three brothers, the tennis player's mother tries to maintain as normal a life as possible, far from the spotlight that now surrounds her son. In addition, her involvement in the Carlos Alcaraz Foundation, dedicated to children's well-being through sport, reflects how the young star's success has also transformed family life. Garcia is a board member of the organization, while the tennis player's father serves as vice president. With her statements, Virginia Garcia sends a clear message: beyond titles and records, the priority is to protect Carlos Alcaraz as a person in a career marked by early fame and constant pressure. Carlos Alcaraz fuels romance rumors with Peggy Gou with his latest gesture. The South Korean DJ was seen in the Australian Open champions box during one of his matches. Every time Carlos Alcaraz plays a Grand Slam, he is linked to a new girlfriend. The recent Australian Open champion has been associated with South Korean model and DJ Peggy Gou after she was seen in the Murcian tennis player's box during his match against Alex de Minaur. This is a space usually reserved for the athlete's team and inner circle, so the gesture did not go unnoticed. Her involvement during the match was absolute. Cameras followed her gestures, celebrations, and nervous moments non-stop, to the point that several specialized media outlets shared videos focused exclusively on her reactions. In the subsequent press conference, the tennis player was asked about her. "She's really cool and I hope to win the next round if I want to see her set music. I'm happy she's close. She's given me a lot of support, which is really cool. I hope I can see her on Sunday," he said. Peggy was in Melbourne for work, as she had several shows coinciding with the Australian Open, including a performance in the final as part of OW Live, which combines tennis and live music as part of the event's programming. In statements to the Australian newspaper, the artist explained that they met thanks to a mutual friend, restaurant and nightclub entrepreneur David Grutman. "We are friends. Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner were playing matches in Korea and my parents are big tennis fans. They asked me, could you get us a ticket, please? I asked David and he was the one who introduced us. We met in Korea and became good friends," Gou said. Despite the fact that both have made their relationship clear, the world number one's latest gesture has only fueled rumors, especially among fans. Alcaraz accompanied his latest batch of photos on Instagram with a song by the artist, It Goes, Na Na Na, which is very popular on social media and streaming charts. Peggy Gou is 34 years old and is one of the most influential DJs on the international electronic music scene. Born in South Korea, she studied at the prestigious London College of Fashion and, over time, has collaborated with luxury brands such as Bottega Veneta, consolidating a professional career that goes far beyond music.